Today we're going to go over some of our garden prep as we prepare for spring that's going to be here before we know it. I'll go over some of the tools I use for pruning my trees and for pruning the vegetables. I'll show you how I pruned some 8-year-old trees that I'm trying to grow taller. We also need to clean up the blackberry and blueberries, clean up our raised garden beds to get those ready, and we'll put down a fresh layer of fertilizer over the whole garden. Here I have the 3 pruners that are used most commonly. This one I use mostly just for cutting off runners on strawberries and pruning my tomato plants. I'm actually going to have to buy some new ones. I left these out over the winter on my gardening table, and as you can see, they're pretty rusted. These work really well. They don't cut through much wood, so anything that's still growing, these work well to cut through. And then you get a little bit bigger, and you have the normal basic pruners that people are used to. And I use these from anything to maybe a ½ inch or so, but you really have to start pushing down if you get too big. It'll make a pretty clean cut if you do, if you have a good spot, especially if you can reach in there to cut it. I used it for the tree up here, and it cuts really well. And then this is just a little hand saw, which I actually take camping with me because it works for camping also. But I like to use it when I have bigger branches off of trees. I've even cut probably 2 or 3 inch pieces off of my big front tree. And it works really well, especially if I'm cutting stuff, even just cutting wood to a smaller piece when I'm camping. So these have actually multiple uses for me, and so I use this one quite a bit. I got these trees for free about 5 years ago, and they're about this tall, and now they're taller than me. So I've been slowly cutting up the sides every spring to try to prune it back. So every spring I come out here, and I'm trying to prune it so that someday I'll be able to walk underneath of it. But as you can see, I've been cutting it all the way since down here. And trees grow from the top, so anything I cut off down here will stay at this height. So if I leave this one right here, it'll stay at this height basically forever, because it'll grow from the top and it'll grow out down here. So I'm only going to cut it off till probably next year to here. That way I will be able to walk under these. Slowly getting this tree to the size that I want it to be. I might be able to cut it. Yep. So that's as high as I'm going to go today. And I'm kind of cutting in to clean out some of the inside so it's not so busy, that the branches have places to grow. And I'm kind of keeping these main ones and that they're not crossing over each other. For the first few years I didn't even prune it and it didn't grow much. And as you can tell, now it's really taken off. And then this one over here, I'm cutting off all the ones too to try to create just one main stem up the plant. So it's not competing at the top, to let it grow. And if I can cut it. There we go. And then at the bottom, I have a lot that I'm cutting off here because I'm still trying to get this to grow up and not necessarily out. But I also don't want to cut off more than 1/3 of my plant because that's not good for it. So this one's going to probably look a little empty when I'm done. What I'm trying to do is just clean up this tree so that, you know what, I'm probably going to get a little aggressive and do one more. There you go, we'll call that a tree. And then some of them that are crossing. But that way I only have this one main piece coming up the middle. Let's do this. This one's kind of my experimental tree that I'm growing and playing with. That one has done so much better than this one. If you can get out this time of year while it's cold, and if you do it while it's cold, there's less bugs. And I also try to do it when it's not raining. So that gives my tree a time to heal. It won't be long and we're gonna start getting a lot of leaves. We've already got buds on here. Here I have my blackberries and some raspberries. I have 2 types of blackberries. I have a thornless blackberry over here, and then these ones in the middle have thorns. So I had to wear long sleeves so I can cut these off. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna prune my blackberries. Each year it grows a new stalk up the middle. So I'm going to cut off the ones from last year because I don't need them anymore. And I just come down here, cut off the old ones, and these produced really well for me last year. And I have some zip ties holding them on. And this is a trellis that I also built last year. Probably overbuilt it using cedar wood and stainless steel hardware so that it wouldn't rust.
I'm just gonna take this out. I can cut it off and I'll pull this out. These ones are easy because they don't have any thorns on it. I have a trellis with 3 wires, then 1 in the middle, and then 3 more at the top. And I put it all the way through, glued it and screwed it in with eye hooks right here and with the twisty pieces to keep it tight. So this isn't going anywhere. I probably need to put some sealant on the top though this year because I've noticed that that's probably gonna dry out. These blackberries did amazing last year. They're the first fruit out here that I have to flower and produce fruit, and then the blueberries are about right afterwards. So the first fruit we'll get out here is blackberries, followed by blueberries, probably strawberries then. The grapes don't produce anything till the fall. Almost each month I'll have something producing, which is nice. This right here is what I use to tie my plants up. So I can just pull it out, and then it even has a little cutting piece right here, and I can snap it. And it's basically little ties that you would find on bread back in the day. Bread ties, but it's long, and I can cut it to the size I need. And I'm gonna tie all of these up onto my trellis wires. I think if I were to do it all again, I would just do it all thornless. I've even thought about ripping out the thorned ones and only having the thornless in here, just because it makes it easier to get in here and do all the work. So if I was starting over, it would all be thornless, but right now, it's not. Okay, I'm back. Got the gloves, rookie mistake. Gloves are worth it. No spiders in the gloves, I hope, from last year. I didn't check, but nothing's bit me yet. So let's tie this raspberry here, or this blackberry. Keep it to grow up. I'm gonna put another string, another tie over here. I want this one to grow along here, like this. I don't do it too tight, so it has a little bit of room to grow as it keeps growing. These raspberries just took off. I didn't realize how big they got. So all those raspberries are gonna go over there. And this blackberry, look at it, it's come all the way up here, wrapped around. So this raspberry plant and this right here is the same plant. So I just finished tying all of these raspberries and blueberries up. These are raspberries. So I have my trellis right here that I built, all stainless steel, which is kind of fun last year as a project. And then I tied up my raspberries through the middle trellis, up to the middle trellis, and then out. And I tied up some more over here, and I really cleaned it up. This was really overgrown where I couldn't even get into it. And these are my blackberries. I've cut them up. But now that it's gonna start warming up soon, they're gonna start flowering again. And I cut them, tied them to my stainless steel wire. I know it rubs it, but that's okay. It hasn't really bothered it in the past. And this is just for me to eat. And then I have it coming out, and then as branches will come out, I can tie them to my wire, just like this. But they're already so tall that I can't reach it. So I definitely cut them back so that I'll be able to reach them this year. Keep them away from the house right here because it's gonna keep growing out. I try to make it grow out towards the middle area.
And here I have my tomatoes that I'm pulling them. I planted tomatoes and basil in here, and it was awesome. So I'm going to do that again this year. And then here I have corn that I grew. It did okay. I'm going to make sure I water it and fertilize it this year. The last thing before I call it a day is I got to put some fertilizer on. I only try to do fertilizer once a year, so I do a method where I just throw a bunch down and call it good. I ordered some online because it was cheaper the last couple of weeks. So here I go. I do put on some face masks because I don't want to deal with any of this dust. So I just put it everywhere. These are my strawberries, those are the raspberries and blackberries. And these are just some flowers. And this is our flower garden in the front of the house, and I just throw it all down. But as you can see, it does create that dust, so I don't want to deal with any of that kind of stuff. So after I finish that, I put some on the azaleas, just keep everything. This is an organic fertilizer, so it'll slowly arrive once the ground warms up. It isn't going to be put down right away. And then I clean up, and then I go inside and wash all this fertilizer off of me.